Once upon a time, in the neighborhood of Kings Norton in Birmingham, England, there was a young reverend named Wilbert Awdry. He had a wife, Margaret, a brother named George, and 3 children, whom he loved so much that he made sure that they were as happy as he could make them to be. The first was his youngest daughter, Hilary, given the name because it shared that of Wilbert's university term, though some say it was because she had a beautiful angelic name. The second was his older daughter, Veronica, given the name because her father wanted to keep the name of Vere, his own father, alive in spirit, though some say it was because she had a pretty long name and would grow up to become either a spoiled young woman or a sweet one. And finally, there was Christopher himself, who was so adorable, so innocent, so pure, even in birth, that his mother and father immediately thought of a Christian name. But those who knew him also knew that he loved trains. Every morning to afternoon, when the trains from London and elsewhere came to the station, Wilbert and Christopher would stand near the station to watch the trains coming and going. They would wave to the driver and the guard, Station Master Edkins would serve them lunch, even sharing some of his own, and sometimes they would greet foreign passengers from America and the rest of Europe to their little town. Altogether, the Awdrys were a very happy family with no problems worth mentioning, and had they stayed that way, there would be no story to tell. But on September 1st, 1939, things took a turn for the worst. It had been almost 21 years since the Great War had ended. So many people had died in order to end all wars forever, but not without consequence. Germany was so bitter over losing the war that they did what any German would do, find a scapegoat. Within a few days, Kaiser Wilhelm had been stripped of his title, and anti-Semitism was reaching an all-time high. One Austrian, a former painter-turned-social leader, Adolf Hitler, promised to avenge Germany's defeat by starting his own government known to the English tongue as the Nazi Party. The Germans, or at least those who had great respect for Hitler, began to cheer up when they saw Jews, people with disabilities, homosexuals, Catholics, leftists, and too many others to count, relocated from the cities and into concentration camps where they would be put under hard labor or killed in the deadly gas chambers. Some were executed by firing squads. The rest of Europe was so sick of Hitler's ideals that they all wanted to stand up to him and fight his forces head-on. By August of 1939, Germany had conquered half of Europe, but it was the invasion of Poland that broke the last straw for everyone. The British government issued an ultimatum to Germany for the withdrawal of the troops from Poland, but Hitler was quick to reject it. 2 days later, Neville Chamberlain, the Prime Minister, gave a solemn speech to the people of his country. It began like this: "This morning, the British ambassador in Berlin handed the German government a final note stating that unless they heard from them by 11 o'clock that they were prepared at once to withdraw their troops from Poland, a state of war would exist between us. I have to tell you now that no such undertaking has been received, and that consequently this country is at war with Germany." England did its part by sending 400,000 men, which together formed the British Expeditionary Force, over to France, but they were no match for the Germans and quickly retreated back home via Dunkirk, Calais, Cherbourg, and other French ports. Wilbert, despite his pacifism, did his own part by renting a boat that he and George used to ferry 15 soldiers back to their native land. But not before Wilbert risked his life by searching the streets of Dunkirk for more soldiers. At some point, he found a toy train set that he thought would make a great birthday present for Christopher. So he quickly said a little prayer for forgiveness, broke the door down, and looted the set. He managed to make his way back to the boat without running into a single German soldier. When July 2nd arrived, Christopher loved the gift so much that he considered it the best birthday ever. A month later, on August 9th, 1940, England was near the brink of German invasion, and the Awdrys knew this. "Try to look up at things, Daddy," said Christopher at dinner. "At least you won't have to fight back." "But what if they invade us?" Veronica was full of fear. "The other girls at school say they might bomb us like they did in Poland. How can we possibly be happy if they'll take us over?" Hilary felt like crying. She hugged her sister tight. "Not to worry, dears," said their mother. "The RAF will do its best to drive them back." "Meanwhile," said Uncle George, "we may have to relocate if all else fails." "Relocate?" Christopher was stunned. "Where to?" "The country, naturally. All the children from the big cities are evacuated there. Some are even going to America or Canada." "I don't think we even should leave," protested Christopher. "I want to stay with Daddy." "So do I," said Wilbur gently, "but this is for our own safety. The Prime Minister, the King, and the Queen have all agreed to this plan." The rest of their dinner continued as normal, when suddenly there came the distant droning of an aeroplane's engines and the wail of a siren. The time was 7:42 in the evening. Then came the sound of explosions, which could be heard all the way from Erdington. "It's not the fire brigade, is it?" asked Hilary, feeling a little scared. "I don't think so," said Christopher. "Everybody to the shelter." At the sound of Wilbert's announcement, everyone proceeded to the backyard where they had dug up an Anderson shelter just a few months before with shovels and a rake to neaten the mound. They all clambered in and waited in silence. When the all-clear signal ringed out through the air, Wilbert and his family joined the rest of their neighbors at St. Nicholas's Church for answers. His friend, Canis Thomas Dunn, was quick to pacify those who were desperate for answers. Apparently, it was only one aircraft that dropped several bombs on Erdington, and 6 people were dead. "What could this mean?" asked a hysterical woman. "It means," announced Wilbert, "that the major cities of England are no longer safe. Starting tomorrow, if we heard from the city council, we have to evacuate as soon as possible." Christopher's heart sank. This was going to be the worst year ever.